Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So, there was a phone call from Debbie Wasserman Schultz's office to somebody dealing with the plaintiffs in the DNC fraud lawsuit. So, the plaintiffs in the DNC fraud lawsuit, apparently concerned with their safety, filed a motion of protection. On Tuesday, June 13, 2017, lawyers for the plaintiffs in the DNC fraud lawsuit filed a motion for order of protection to the U.S. District Court in Florida following 3 disturbing incidents that recently occurred in orbit of the lawyers and plaintiffs involved in the ongoing high-stakes litigation. This is Zach Howler, by the way. The lawsuit, a class action suit filed by Jared Beck and Elizabeth Lee Beck last summer, seeks damages for the Democratic Party donors and voters dumped by the party's fraudulent 2016 primary counsel for the Democrats argued on April 25, 2017 in favor of their motion to dismiss, insisting the federal judge, William J. Zolak, throw out the case because the party has the right to choose its nominee behind closed doors in smoke-filled rooms regardless of the results of the primaries. In addition to the primary party, the lawsuit names disgraced former DNC chair Debbie Wasserman Schultz as a defendant. Following her resignation as DNC chair, Schultz has been the subject of intensifying scrutiny related to the lawsuit and another blasting of the DNC's grotesque compensation practices under her leadership. DC Capitol Police were also investigating a massive data breach committed to her former IT staffers, who since fled the country. Meanwhile, uncertainty lingers around the homicides of DNC's data director and potential witness, Seth Rich, and Miami federal prosecutor, Wissington Jr., remains unsolved. Essentially, 2 murders remains unsolved. On Thursday, June 1st, approximately 6 weeks following the release of the transcripts from the oral arguments, a staff member at plaintiff's firm Beck and Lee received a mysterious call that was programmed to falsely identify on the caller ID as the contact number of Debbie Wasserman Schultz's office. The caller sought information related to the case using a voice-altering application that would refuse to disclose his or her identity. Wow, that's amazing. Now, they're making the point that, look, there's been a lot of shady stuff going on. And these 2 guys got murdered. They're in some way related to this. Somebody's calling us at this point. Somebody's threatening us. We need protection. And we need court order protection. Now, this is interesting. This is very interesting at best, because there's a certain image that goes along with that. If the judge says, yes, I agree with you, a lot of weird stuff is going on, we're going to give you protection. Protection from who? Protection from who? Like, oh man, that would bring such weird connotations. If the judge is saying, yes, I agree that you need protection because there's something out there that may injure you, who else would care about injuring these guys? Who would care? Are you telling me that there's some rabid Democrat out there who cares more than Deborah Wasserman Schultz and all these other guys for keeping their reputation intact? If the judge is saying, I agree with you, then the judge is kind of taking this position of, yes, something going on with relation to the DNC has been involved or could be involved in hurting people. And I'm going to give you protection because I believe your story that these people could have in some way been injured related to this case. If that's where you're going, if that's where you are, oh man. I'm just making this point that the Seth Rich thing we're saying, that people are saying, I'm not saying, I don't necessarily take that leap, but they're saying that the DNC has something to do with Seth Rich. If you say that the DNC, Seth Rich was the leaker, Seth Rich turns up dead, however he turns up dead, as a police person, you have to take that step of saying, okay, maybe the DNC has something to do with it. We need to take a look at that. If the judge is saying, I need to protect you, the only people you'll be protecting them from are the people involved in this case. The people who are involved in this case is the DNC. I'm just saying, for the judge to approve this, he's setting a stone. He's essentially saying, hey, I know they keep saying this is debunked, but look, I've looked at this and this looks a little sketchy for me. So look, I'm going to put a stone in that place. Once the stone is in that place, certainly you can see that other stone too. Maybe these guys have something to do with it in some way. I'm just saying, if the judge does this, he's setting a stone in place of Seth Rich that's to some degree undebunking, or at the very least giving some level of credence to, okay, your life is being threatened in some way. You're not crazy for thinking that something's going on. Even if you're wrong, you're not crazy about it because this looks weird and suspicious. That's interesting. That's damn interesting. Because it pushes back organically on this idea of this being debunked. I think this whole idea of it being debunked is ridiculous. This is the media trying to put a particular narrative out. If the judge comes back and says, okay, I agree with you. This looks sketchy. So I'm going to put, yes, this looks sketchy to me. So yes, I'm going to give some level of protection. If it looks sketchy, who does it look sketchy from? Like, the only possible candidate for that is the Democratic Party. That's what I mean when I say, if he does this, it sets up this organic thing of undebunking something, because the judge at the very least gives it the credibility. It says, yes, this looks weird, maybe something should be done, and does so not from a standpoint of this person or that random person. It's doing so by a measure of the state saying, yes, that looks weird. That's amazing. I'm curious to see what takes place. I'll put this article in. This is, again, by Zach Howler. I remember when they did this. I didn't read Zach's piece on it, but it's a good piece. You should read it. I'll leave it at that. All right, guys. If you enjoy the content, feel free to share, write, subscribe. You can always support the work through Patreon. Thank you.